Hello and welcome to the Pathfinders podcast. As you can tell, this is not the voice you are used to hearing. Command staff, we had a meeting and we decided that due to the low listening numbers and the views on YouTube, that it was a time for a change in host. And so we've booted VanDoor out, and everyone's favorite, not Keyhouse, me, is going to be hosting the show from now on. I'm just kidding. This month we're flipping the script on our normal host, and we're going to get to know VanDoor a little bit more. So, as a preface, before we get started, I just want to say when I planned all this out, I had no sports questions in mind and on my list, because we all know that VanDoor talks about sports too much already as it is. And so, if sports does come up during this conversation, it is not from my doing. So, let's get to it. Welcome, VanDoor. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks for doing this and flipping the switch, as you say. Even though
Flipping the script, that's right.
my contract does not let me get fired easily. So,
well, that's okay. There's always a way out. Remember, we have someone that works in legal in our command staff, so we can always find a way out of anything.
I know things about him. He's too open.
That's true. All right. So, question number one: who are you?
Well, my favorite sports team is the Canucks.
Oh my gosh.
My name is Curtis. I am 36. I am from Canada, currently in Edmonton, but really grew up outside of Vancouver in a little place that recently just got a bunch of flooding. Yeah, I wish I could go back there. I enjoy that area more than out here, mainly due to how cold and snowy it is for like 6 months of the year here. Yeah, that's about it. One brother, divorced parents. That's about everything.
Well, if you need any advice on dealing with snow and cold, being from Texas, I'm not your guy. So tell me, so you always ask pretty much relatively the same questions to everybody. So I'm going to ask similar questions. Favorite movie, TV show, non-sport thing to do?
Favorite movie, I'd say my top two that I can go back and watch at any time is The Goonies, which I've actually been to the locations where they filmed it. Me and some friends were driving down to Portland, and I told them I wanted to stop in Astoria. So we actually saw like the main house, the jail cell where the Fratellis break out of and stuff. So that was really cool.
That is pretty neat.
And Stand By Me, which is based on the Stephen King short book or short novel. So yeah, Stand By Me is amazing with like River Phoenix and stuff like that. Jerry O'Connell when he was a kid. That can be on like TBS when I was a kid, and I would just stop everything and watch that no matter what I was doing. So those would be my favorite movies.
What about TV shows?
TV show. I was always a big TV watcher growing up. So like as a kid, it was like Saved by the Bell was a big one. Every day after school, that came on. And then like as I got older, miniseries were big. So like Band of Brothers is probably my number one. I could watch that 24/7. I wouldn't be upset about it. But a lot of the crime dramas I like, the Dexters, Hannibal is really cool, stuff like that. And then a lot of comedies, Seinfeld, King of the Hill. It just goes on and on with my list. Honestly, my hard drive is just full of TV shows and stuff.
That fell off the back of a truck, correct? They all fell
exactly.
off.
Yeah.
Let's just clarify. They fell.
Owners gave me full permission. I have the emails. Don't worry.
Well, speaking of the new Dexter, or speaking of Dexter, have you been watching the new Dexter?
I am. I actually watched the new episode last night after you guys all logged off.
I think it's pretty good. I love Dexter myself. I was late coming to the show, so I kind of had like my Harry Potter reading experience was similar to my Dexter watching experience. I started reading Harry Potter when the last book came out, so I got to read them all like back to back, and so I got the full story at once, and that's kind of how I got Dexter. Was like when the last season dropped, I watched the entire thing. It was so good.
Yeah, they've definitely upgraded from the last couple seasons of Dexter. I think like most people that watched it when it first came out, they were very disappointed with it. How like the last 3 seasons probably were. So they've come back big, and it's been a lot better so far.
Oh yeah, I'm anxious to see where this season is going to take us.
But I'm like you, how you were saying, like you want to watch it all at once. I'm terrible with that. Like I hate that I have to wait a week for Dexter now. Like I want it all now, and I'll just binge all 12 episodes in like 2 days, kind of thing.
I think there's like I think people just consider that the Netflix model, because I think Netflix kind of started that tradition of just dropping an entire season of a show at one time when you just binge the whole thing. I think there's like advantages and disadvantages to watching it week to week as opposed to watching the whole thing at one time. And with the rise of social media, it's kind of hard to. I think the binge model, social media makes the binge model hard, because sometimes you have to like go on a social media blackout if you're like in a really good show and you don't want to be spoiled by it, because you're going to have those people that watch the whole thing in one day. And
Yeah, for
so,
sure.
and then they'll go online on Twitter or Facebook and they'll spoil the whole thing. And so I think there's advantages to disadvantages to the binge method. I personally like the binge method just because I don't follow a lot of TV movie stuff on Twitter anyway. So it's pretty much easy to avoid that. Um, but there's just something about just like getting the whole story at like one time. So it just like stays fresh on your mind.
Yeah, I actually had a coworker years ago that ruined the last episode of Lost for me, like as I was going home to watch it, and I wanted to hit her so hard. I was so upset about it. Even though the ending turned out to be shit, I was still very upset.
Yeah, the ending was pretty much garbage on that show. All right, next question. So you're stuck on an island and you can bring only one album. This is music we're talking about now. What would it be? Well, we'll say album or discography. I think that's how you say the word, of a group, person, etc. If you say Taylor Swift, that's okay. I'll allow it.
Taylor Swift's terrible.
Oh, come on. Let's not have this debate. I just don't have the energy.
Or she had to re-release her whole catalog because someone else bought it. Like, that's business. Deal with it. I don't care. She's terrible.
We will agree to disagree.
So yeah, this one a little bit hard for me. I'd say it's really between one singer and one band. Like the Beatles is always up there just because they have so many great songs, but I'd be fighting between Garth Brooks and Foo Fighters. Those have always been my two growing up. Like growing up, my mom was always like, we were driving in the car, she would put on the radio. She was always country all the time. So me and my brother just were forced to listen to it. And that was like the early 90s and throughout the 90s and stuff. So you have a lot of like the Garth Brooks and Brooks and Dunn and
that's
all those
back when
guys.
hillbilly music was at its prime right then.
Yeah. So I'd say Garth Brooks is really up there. I've seen him live 3 times and it's amazing. But I've also seen the Foo Fighters twice. They're incredible live. Dave Grohl is incredible. I love him as a person. I'd love to meet him one day. So I would, it's really tight. It's like a 50-50 really between the two.
Well, I'll allow it. I'll allow Garth Brooks and the Foo Fighters because I think both those are. It's a good band and a good singer. Even when he went crazy and was that other guy for a little while.
Yeah, that Chris Gaines thing was weird.
Yeah. But hey,
yeah,
you got to reinvent yourself.
He had to do something. Dave Grohl's been in like so many other bands, like really being in Nirvana and then in Foo Fighters, Queens of the Stone Age, and this other stuff. The guy's amazing.
Yeah, I like the Foo Fighters and Dave Grohl. Like you said, he's really good. He's been in some good bands.
Yeah, and they've just been putting out great songs continuously, like all the time. They just had another new one released that was a really good one. So
yeah. All right, next question. This one's a tough one. Why are manholes round?
So they don't fall in.
Okay, I'll allow it.
That's a simple scientific answer. That's why they're round, so they don't fall in.
What was the last gift you gave someone?
I've got my mom's stuff, like plants. She's a plant fiend in the house. So I bought her plants recently because then she'll just like once they die, she'll cut off a piece and plant it, and it will grow back over the 6 months, and there'll be like 8 of them around the house again. Yeah, I really haven't been able to buy many gifts just with COVID going on. Like, just not really seeing a lot of people and the family and my friends, most of them being back home. I'd probably say like probably last Christmas would have been the biggest thing with my uncles and aunts and cousins just giving different presents. Yeah, I think I got a shitty answer for this one. This is my roadie answer right now.
Wow, it's understandable. I mean, I mean, you're right. COVID's kind of kept people locked up in their houses for a while.
Oh, I know. Here, I made cookies for my neighbor, old lady that I help a lot. And she returns whenever I help like move her barbecue or take her garbage out. She always brings over desserts, and I made desserts back for her one day. So that's probably the best gift I've given recently.
Oh, that's very surprising, VanDoor. That's very un-VanDoorish that you baking cookies for your old lady neighbor. That's
I
I'm
didn't. I don't
actually
go there and
surprised.
push her over in the snow when I see her. I'm not an asshole.
Oh, that's funny. If you could compare yourself with any animal, which would it be and why?
Ooh, I'd say a bear because I can be really cute and cuddly, but then I can also be very ferocious and angry and mean. And I love to sleep, especially in the wintertime. So I'm kind of like a hibernation there. So I'd probably go with a bear,
A bear?
a grizzly bear.
A grizzly bear. So probably one of the more vicious bears. I
Yeah,
mean, you do live in Canada, so you could be a polar bear.
we're not that far north.
Well, I mean, it's Canada. I mean, everything above America is the North Pole. I mean, let's just be
You
honest.
do realize that 90% of Canadians live within like 100 miles of the U.S. border.
That's perfectly fine because I don't care. But
So when you say like,
everything,
oh yeah, you're,
everything above America, you're riding meese. I don't know how to say that. I don't know what's the plural
you
of
know that
moose.
Toronto was like more south than Seattle. You know that like Sofa is more in America than Seattle is.
Sofa doesn't count because he's French. All right.
That's true.
All right. So, what is something no one in the unit knows about you that you're willing to share?
Hmm. See, I was prepping for some of the questions that you were going to ask me. That was not one of them.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
No, it's good. Something that nobody knows about me.
That's what you get because when you interviewed me, you wouldn't let me know the questions ahead of time.
Yeah.
And you left me with, "Who do you think you are?" And I didn't get the reference because I didn't watch The Office. So I felt like an idiot the whole time.
Garza loved that question. She was really happy when I pre-showed her the question. She really liked that one. Something nobody knows about me. Could tell you what sports I played growing up.
Oh, jeez. It always comes back to sports. Sports ball. Yep. All the time.
I'm not really like I don't really have many secrets about what I talk about really. Was there anything you were wondering?
No, I was just, is there something about you that nobody knows that you wanted to share? I mean, if you don't have
I
anything, that's fine.
I don't have a gallbladder anymore. That got taken out 4 years ago because of inept doctors at the hospital here. I got 3 metal pins in my right elbow when I broke it playing soccer with another kid's head.
Oh, jeez.
Um, there's a story there if you want to hear that one.
Let's go ahead and hear that sports story because I'm kind of interested on how you break you said your elbow
Yeah,
on a
so
kid's head.
I was playing goalie and the ball came in. There's a low on the ground. I dove for it to my left, so my right elbow is kind of in the air, and the other players were running towards me. And a friend of mine on the team, the defenseman, he clipped a guy on the other team, so pretty much kicked his legs out from under him, and he fell forward head first into my elbow. So the big thing, I
Oh,
actually
jeez.
got up and had the ball in my hand. This other kid was still on the ground, and I'm right-handed, so I went to like do a drop kick and kick the ball out, and I noticed I couldn't move my arm. So I dropped to the ground on my knee and I called everyone over. I'm like, yeah, my arm's broken, whatever. I had to wait on the sidelines because my mom wasn't there to watch the game. She had just dropped me off to go get groceries, or whatever, and takes me home. And I'm like, I'm really hurt. She's like, you're fine. You're just faking it. I'm like, no, I
Just
really
rub
hurt.
some dirt in it.
Yeah, that wasn't bother. You're fine. And I tried making up the stairs. I'm like, I'm gonna throw up. I felt that sick. So there was a clinic right down the road. Walked in. They're like, yeah, go get X-rays. Went. It was broken. Um, Actually got sent home because the doctor couldn't do it right away. Some old lady, like 30 minutes away, broke her hip, so he had to go save her life. So I had to go home with a broken elbow for a night. Went back, got surgery, got 3 metal pins put in there to stick it back together, and it's all good now. Perfect flexibility. It goes straight. There's no bend in it or anything. So just a nasty scar on the outside.
Does it hurt when it gets cold?
No, it doesn't. Actually, when I was waking up from the anesthesia, my mom said my only question was, "Am I going to beep now when I go through security at the airport?"
That's hilarious. Are you gonna beep now? And you have to explain, why are you beeping? You have a weapon? No, it's just my elbow.
Yeah, and I remember when I got my gallbladder out, they told me that my only question when I woke up was, "Who won the Canucks game?" Because I
Jesus,
had to go in for
always sports. Always
I
sports.
had to go into surgery before the game was over, so I didn't know how it ended. So that's what they told me. I said when I woke up.
That's so funny. All right, last question before we get to our little next section. I think I know the answer to this one, but who in the unit have you known the longest, and how did you meet?
Yeah, that's an easy one. That's Garza. I have known her probably, I'd say, average maybe 12 years, maybe a little bit longer, a little bit shorter by a year. Um, we met after I was in the original 8th ID. After I played Dodds way back and the original, and then got the source version, and I came back playing with like a group that was like just played orange maps and the lime green stuff and everything, and they folded. So I followed a buddy from there who joined the 8th ID originally back then, and then when that all fell to shit, I had known Garza and a lot of other people from the 6th at then, and so I joined and got to know her really well. VanDoor, who was McEachran at the time. So the three of us have known each other for probably the same amount of time like that. But yeah, Garza was like a CSM over there. And yeah, just became really good friends and known her ever since. And yeah, probably my best friend in the unit and Steam. And yeah, even in real life, she's a really good friend.
Nice. I mean, I've known Garza for way shorter time than that, and yeah, she seems like she's everybody's friend. She just has that personality that just kind of draws people into her. She's real nice. I like her. All right,
Just don't piss her off because she'll kill
just
you
don't
too.
piss her off. That's right. She'll hunt you down in your sleep. All right, so we're gonna play a quick game of Would You Rather. And so
Oh, I like this.
I have three questions I'm going to ask you, and you'll have to choose between the two of which you would rather. So your first one: would you rather listen to me talk about soccer, pretending to know what I'm talking about, or listen to Rhodey tell another joke?
You talk about soccer.
Oh man, I was telling Rhodey about this yesterday when we were meeting before realism practice, and he was like, "He's the only one that's ever given me shit about that joke."
It was the worst attempt at a joke in the history of the world. I'm sorry. I love Rhodey. He's an amazing person. I'm glad I met him in this unit. But that joke was, I remember when I asked it, I'm sitting at my computer waiting, and I was just like, holy shit, is he still going on with this thing? Like, I wanted to stop him and have him, like, tell a different one. It was that bad. But I love the guy. I'm sorry.
It's so funny. All right, next one. All right. Would you rather never win an official realism again or listen to Castle mispronounce your name over and over?
Holy shit. That's a hard one. Um,
Because I just know that the way Castle, or some of you may know him as Yak, says your name is just wrong and it irritates you. So I've just kind of.
it just irritates me because I've told him numerous times the proper way and it just won't stick in his head. Like, I guess I could say him just because he's not around anymore. um, yeah, I'd still love winning realism with you guys. So yeah, I can deal with Castle.
All right. And last one. Would you rather die to a savage or peacock nade every time you played, every time you spawned, or listen to Matic talk continuously on his garbage microphone?
Peacock Sophanade.
There you go. I figured the Savage check or the Peacock check would be much more enjoyable than Matic talking on his garbage microphone.
Yeah, that thing's terrible. I don't know what we have to do to get him a new one or fix it, but the community as a group has to come together.
I told him one time, I was like, we're gonna do a GoFundMe, and I gave him like this made up address, and he actually clicked on it thinking it was real. Oh, I thought that
We
was
should do it. We should do it.
GoFundMe microphone, Matic a new microphone. All right, last question. Who is your favorite fake captain who is not also a chaplain?
I would have to go with Tom Hanks in Saving Private Ryan.
Oh, Jesus. I figured you would find a way out of answering this question of me. The answer was supposed to be me.
That was an easy answer, though. It was.
But I'll allow Tom Hanks because Tom Hanks is amazing.
You're a close second, okay?
Close second. I had to throw in fake captain because Rhodey would obviously be the real option, the real choice there. But
True.
But with that, there's another episode of the Pathfinders podcast in the can that no one will listen to. We'll see you next time. Well, VanDoor will, not me. So
I got away without having to tell a joke?
yeah, you don't have to. I mean, you can tell a joke now if you want.
All right, we'll put this in at the end as like a PS kind of thing. All right. So, girl turns 18, goes to the gynecologist for the first time ever. She's really nervous and afraid. The doctor says, we got to do this and that. It might hurt a little bit. So, do you want me to numb it? She says, sure. And so the doctor goes, num, 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 num.
Oh, Jesus.
Thank you, everyone. See you later.
Yep.